The underwater city of Neobusan was unlike any place on Earth. Deep beneath the waves of the Pacific Ocean, its glass domes sparkled with soft blue lights that made everyone feel peaceful and calm. In this beautiful city lived Horin, a young scientist who loved to study the mysterious lights that appeared above the ocean's surface. Horin's apartment was on the 15th floor of the Coral Gardens building. Large windows covered one entire wall, letting her see the ocean life swimming past. Every morning, she would wake up to see colorful fish dancing outside her window, their scales shining in the gentle light of the city's bioluminescent lamps. The streets of Neobusan were not like regular streets. Instead of roads, they had clear tubes filled with moving water that carried people from one place to another. Plants grew everywhere, their leaves glowing with soft green and blue colors. These plants not only made the city beautiful, but also helped make clean air for everyone to breathe. Horin worked in the city's main research center, a tall building shaped like a giant seashell. Inside, scientists studied ways to make life better for the people of Neobusan. Her special room in the research center had walls covered with screens showing pictures of the strange lights that often appeared far above the ocean's surface. One quiet evening, while most people were getting ready for bed, Horin noticed something different about these lights. They were moving in new patterns, making shapes she had never seen before. She sat at her desk, her warm cup of tea getting cold, as she watched the screens with great interest. The lights seemed to be trying to tell something to the people below. In Neobusan, everyone wore special suits that helped them stay comfortable in the deep ocean pressure. Horin's suit was light blue, like most scientists wore, and it felt as soft as a warm blanket. As she studied the lights, her suit adjusted its temperature to keep her cozy, just as it always did when she worked late into the night. The research center was quiet at this hour. The only sounds were the gentle humming of machines and the soft bubbling of water flowing through the building's walls. Sometimes, Horin could hear the distant songs of whales, which often swam near the city to say hello to its inhabitants. Her computer made soft beeping sounds as it recorded the light patterns. Horin noticed that they appeared at the same time every night, just when the city's lights dimmed to help people sleep. It was almost as if whatever made these lights knew about the city's schedule and wanted to be noticed. As she worked, Horin's friend from the food gardens, Miho, brought her a fresh cup of seaweed tea. Miho always knew when Horin needed a break from her work. The tea had a sweet, calming taste that helped people sleep better. It was one of the special plants they grew in the underwater gardens of Neobusan. That night, Horin made an important discovery. The lights weren't random at all. They followed a pattern that repeated every 12 minutes. She carefully wrote everything down in her research journal, using her special waterproof pen that worked even in the deepest parts of the city. Before going home, Horin looked out of the big observation window in her office. The city's lights were dimming now, creating a peaceful nighttime atmosphere. Far above, through the clear dome that protected Neobusan, she could see those mysterious lights still dancing in the dark water. Something told her that tomorrow would bring even more exciting discoveries. As she rode the water tube home to her apartment, Horin thought about all the possibilities. Could these lights be messages from someone? Were they trying to communicate with the people of Neobusan? These questions would have to wait until tomorrow, as the gentle rocking of the water tube made her feel sleepy. Back in her apartment, Horin changed into her sleeping suit and looked one last time at the lights above. They seemed to twinkle back at her, like stars in an underwater sky. As she drifted off to sleep, she dreamed of what mysteries tomorrow might bring in her beautiful city under the sea. The next morning, Horin arrived early at the research center. She couldn't wait to share her findings about the mysterious lights with her mentor, Dr. Jai-ho. The older scientist was already in his office, looking at some data on his floating screen while drinking his morning seaweed tea. Dr. Jai-ho's office was filled with interesting things from his many years of research. Small tanks with glowing plants lined the walls, and soft music played from hidden speakers. The music helped the plants grow better, he always said. His desk was made of special clear material that showed tiny sea creatures swimming inside it. "Dr. Jaiho, I found something amazing last night," Herin said, showing him her research notes. She played the recording of the light patterns on his big screen. The lights danced across the display, making beautiful shapes that reflected in their eyes. Dr. Jaiho watched carefully, stroking his chin. He had studied the ocean for 40 years, but he had never seen anything like this. "These patterns," he said softly, "they're too regular to be natural. Someone is making these lights." Together, they spent the morning analyzing the patterns. They used the research center's biggest computer, which took up an entire room and hummed quietly as it worked. The computer showed that the lights were moving in ways that couldn't be explained by ocean currents or sea creatures. Around lunchtime, something unexpected happened. The computer made a happy chiming sound, telling them it had found something important. The light patterns matched an old form of communication. They were similar to the way people once used lighthouse signals to talk to ships. "Herin," Dr. Jaiho said with excitement in his voice, "I think someone is trying to talk to us. These aren't just random lights. They're messages from above." His usually calm voice shook a little as he spoke. They called other scientists to come see their discovery. Soon, Herin's quiet research room was full of people watching the light patterns. Everyone spoke in hushed voices, as if they were sharing a wonderful secret. Using the computer, they began to decode the messages. It was like solving a puzzle, but with lights instead of pieces. Each pattern meant something different. Some were simple greetings, while others contained information about the beings sending them. The most exciting part was when they learned that the messages came from people who lived in the clouds, far above the ocean's surface. These cloud people had built cities that floated in the sky, just as Neo-Busan floated under the sea. Herin couldn't believe it. All her life, she had looked up through the ocean wondering what was there. Now she knew. There was another civilization, one that had been trying to reach out to them all this time. Dr. Jaiho put his hand on Herin's shoulder. "You've made an incredible discovery," he said warmly. "Now we need to figure out how to answer them." His eyes sparkled with excitement behind his glasses. They spent the rest of the day working on a way to send messages back. The engineers brought special lights that could shine through the water, all the way to the surface. They set them up on top of the research center's highest point. As evening came, they were ready to try sending their first message. Herin felt nervous and excited as she pressed the button to activate the lights. The message was simple. "Hello from Neo-Busan. We see you." Everyone waited quietly, watching the water above through the city's clear dome. For a few minutes, nothing happened. Then, suddenly, new lights appeared, brighter and more colorful than before. The cloud people had seen their message and were answering. Herin looked at all the happy faces around her. She had helped find new friends for her city, friends who lived in a world she had only dreamed about. As she walked home that evening, she looked up at the lights with new understanding. They weren't just pretty patterns anymore. They were the beginning of a wonderful friendship between two worlds. After discovering the cloud people, Herin knew the next step would be finding a way to visit them. She needed help, so she called her old friend Taiwan, who was the best engineer in Neo-Busan. Taiwan worked in a special laboratory, where he created new machines for the underwater city. Taiwan's laboratory was a peaceful place, even though it was full of machines. The walls were lined with bubbling aquariums that held different types of water from all over the ocean. Soft lights glowed from floating orbs that drifted near the ceiling. In the center of the room stood his latest creation, a large round vessel made of special clear material. "We need to build something that can travel from the bottom of the ocean all the way up to the clouds," Herin explained to Taiwan. She showed him the messages from the cloud people on her tablet. Taiwan listened quietly, nodding his head as he thought about the problem. "The hard part," Taiwan said, "will be making something that works in both water and air." He walked over to one of his workstations and began drawing designs on a glowing screen. "The vessel must keep you safe and comfortable the whole way up. They spent many days working on the design. Taiwan created small models first, testing them in a tall tank of water in his laboratory. Some models sank too quickly, while others floated too fast. They needed to find the perfect balance. Harin helped by studying the messages from the cloud people. They had sent information about the air high above the ocean, which helped Taiwan know what kind of protection the vessel would need. The cloud people also shared details about their own flying machines. One morning, after many tests, Taiwan made an exciting announcement. "I think I've found the right design," he said, showing Harin a beautiful model. It looked like a large bubble made of rainbow-colored material. Inside were comfortable seats and control panels that glowed with soft light. They called their creation the Dream Bubble. It used special technology that could change how it moved through both water and air. The outside shell was made from a new material Taiwan had invented, which could become harder or softer as needed. Inside the Dream Bubble, everything was designed for comfort. The seats could adjust to any position, and the windows could change from clear to slightly dark if the light outside was too bright. There was even a small garden area where plants helped keep the air clean and fresh. Dr. Jaiho came to see their progress every day. He helped them test the Dream Bubble's communication systems, making sure they could stay in touch with both Neo-Busan and the cloud people during their journey. The vessel had special lights all around it that could send messages in any direction. As they worked, more people from Neo-Busan came to help. Some brought special food that would stay fresh during the long journey. Others helped install comfortable sleeping areas and emergency equipment. Everyone wanted to make sure the first visit to the cloud people would be successful. The most important test came when they put the Dream Bubble in the research center's deepest test pool. Harin and Taiwan sat inside while the vessel slowly rose through different layers of water. Everything worked perfectly. The Dream Bubble stayed stable and comfortable, just as they had hoped. "Tomorrow," Harin said to Taiwan as they finished their final checks, "we'll show everyone in Neo-Busan that the Dream Bubble is ready." She looked at their creation with pride. The vessel gleamed under the laboratory lights, its rainbow shell promising to carry them safely to new adventures. That night, Harin could hardly sleep. She stood at her apartment window, watching the lights from the cloud people dance above the city. Soon, she would meet them face to face. As she got ready for bed, she smiled, knowing that their careful preparation would help make their dream of visiting the world above come true. While Harin and Taiwan worked on the Dream Bubble, another important person joined their team. Her name was Yuna, and she was Neo-Busan's best expert in understanding languages. She had a special room in the research center where she studied the messages from the cloud people. Yuna's room was different from the others. The walls showed moving pictures of waves and gentle currents. She said these helped her think better. Her desk had many screens that showed different patterns of the lights they received from above. She spent hours watching these patterns, looking for deeper meaning in them. One quiet afternoon, Yuna made an amazing discovery. She noticed that some of the light patterns matched the way dolphins and whales talk to each other. She invited Harin and Taiwan to her room to share what she had found. "Look at this," Yuna said, pointing to her main screen. She played two recordings side by side. One showed the lights from above, and the other showed the sound waves of whale songs. The patterns were almost the same. "The cloud people must have learned about us by studying the ocean's creatures," she explained. This discovery helped them understand much more about the messages. Yuna created a special computer program that could translate the light patterns into words. Soon, they were having real conversations with someone from above named Sumin, who was the cloud people's main messenger. Sumin told them many interesting things about the cloud city. They learned that the cloud people lived in buildings made of special material that floated in the air. They had gardens that grew in the sky and vehicles that moved through the clouds like fish swim through water. The cloud people were very interested in Neo-Busan too. Through their light messages, Harin and her friends shared stories about their underwater life. They told Sumin about their glowing plants, their water tube transportation, and their special suits that helped them live under the ocean. One evening, something unexpected happened. As Yuna was sending a message to Sumin, she received an unusual reply. The Cloud People wanted to share their dreams with the people of Neobusan. They explained that they had a special way of connecting their minds while they slept. Dr. Jeho helped them prepare for this new kind of communication. He brought soft beds into Yuna's room and set up machines to monitor their sleep. That night, Harin, Taiwan, and Yuna lay down to rest while the gentle wave patterns moved across the walls. As they slept, they had the same dream. In it, they met Sumin in a beautiful place between the sea and sky. Sumin appeared as a tall, kind-looking person surrounded by soft light. Through the dream, they could talk and understand each other perfectly. Sumin showed them visions of the Cloud City. They saw amazing buildings that changed shape with the wind, gardens floating among the clouds, and people moving through the air as easily as the Neobusan people moved through water. Everything in their city had a peaceful, gentle feeling. When they woke up the next morning, Horin and her friends were filled with excitement. The shared dream had taught them more than months of light messages. They now knew that the Cloud People were kind and peaceful, just like them. They wanted to learn from each other and become friends. That day, they sent a special message to Sumin. They were ready to visit the Cloud City in their dream bubble. Sumin's reply came quickly, full of happy lights. The Cloud People would help guide them safely through their journey from the deep ocean to the world above. The morning of their journey arrived with gentle excitement in Neobusan. Harin, Taiwan, and Yuna met early at the research center. They wore their most comfortable travel suits, designed specially for the long trip ahead. Dr. Jeho helped them check all their equipment one final time. The dream bubble waited for them in the launch bay, its rainbow shell glowing softly in the morning light. Inside, everything was ready. The comfortable seats were adjusted perfectly, and the small garden area was filled with fresh plants. Their food supplies and equipment were safely stored away. Many people from Neobusan gathered to watch them leave. They stood behind the clear walls of the launch bay, waving and smiling. The city's leaders gave a short speech wishing them a safe journey. Even the whales that often visited Neobusan seemed to be watching, swimming slowly past the city's dome. Ready for launch, Taiwan said from his pilot's seat. He pressed several glowing buttons, and the dream bubble hummed to life. The vessel's shell began to shine with soft colors that moved like gentle waves across its surface. These colors would help them communicate with the sea creatures they met during their journey. Harin sat next to Taiwan, watching their navigation screens. Yuna had her own station where she could send and receive messages using their special light system. They had practiced this moment many times, but now it was really happening. The launch bay filled with water, and large doors opened above them. The dream bubble rose slowly, floating up through the opening. They could see Neobusan below them, its domes and towers shining like pearls on the ocean floor. Everyone inside felt peaceful as their journey began. As they went higher, they saw amazing things. Schools of fish swam past them, their scales catching the light from the dream bubble. A group of friendly dolphins came to swim alongside them for a while. Through their vessel's special speakers, they could hear the dolphins' happy sounds. Each level of the ocean was different. They passed through layers of water that changed from dark blue to lighter shades. Some layers were full of tiny creatures that glowed like stars. Others had beautiful forests of seaweed that swayed in the currents. The dream bubble's cameras recorded everything they saw. Halfway through their journey, they stopped in a quiet layer of water to rest. While Taiwan checked their systems, Harin and Yuna ate lunch and sent messages to both Neobusan and the Cloud People. Sumin's replies came back quickly, telling them they were on the right path. The most exciting moment came when they reached the place where the deep ocean began to get brighter. They could see rays of sunlight cutting through the water above them. The dream bubble's shell automatically adjusted to protect them from the increasing brightness. "Look there," Harin said, pointing upward. Through the water, they could see the surface of the ocean. It looked like a moving ceiling made of light and shadow. As they got closer, they could even see the clouds above it. Somewhere up there, the Cloud City was waiting for them. Taiwan carefully controlled their speed as they approached the surface. The dream bubble systems worked perfectly, keeping them stable and comfortable. Finally, with a gentle push, they broke through into the air above. Water streamed down their windows as the vessel adjusted to its new environment. They floated there for a moment, between sea and sky. Below them was the vast blue ocean they called home. Above them, white clouds filled the air, and they could see beautiful columns of light reaching down from the Cloud City. They had made it halfway to their destination. As the dream bubble rose higher into the air, Harin sent a happy message to Neobuzen. "We have reached the surface safely. The sky is beautiful." They were ready for the second part of their journey, rising through the air to meet their new friends in the clouds. The dream bubble rose steadily through the air, leaving the ocean behind. Harin, Taiwan, and Yuna watched in wonder as they entered the realm of clouds. Soft white mist surrounded their vessel, making them feel as if they were floating through a gentle dream. Through the clouds, they began to see something remarkable. The Cloud City appeared before them, more beautiful than they had imagined. It was made of tall, graceful buildings that seemed to be created from solid light. These buildings connected to each other with bridges that looked like rainbows stretched across the sky. Sumin's voice came through their communication system, speaking the underwater language that Yuna had taught them. "Welcome, friends from Neobuzen," the voice said warmly. "Please follow the path of golden light. It will guide you to our landing area." A stream of gentle golden light appeared in front of the dream bubble. Taiwan carefully guided their vessel along this path. As they moved closer to the city, they could see more details. Gardens floated in the air, full of plants they had never seen before. People moved between the buildings in small vessels that looked like soap bubbles floating in the wind. The landing area was a large platform made of what looked like solid clouds. As the dream bubble touched down, the surface adjusted to hold them perfectly, like a soft cushion. The platform was surrounded by tall plants with leaves that changed colors slowly, from soft blue to gentle pink. When the dream bubble's door opened, they felt the air of the Cloud City for the first time. It was clean and fresh, with a sweet smell like flowers after rain. Their special suits adjusted quickly to the new environment, keeping them comfortable. Sumin was waiting for them, along with another cloud person named Maijung. They looked just as they had in the shared dream, tall and graceful with kind faces. They wore flowing clothes that seemed to be made from woven light, changing colors softly as they moved. "We have prepared a special place for you," Maijung said, gesturing toward one of the nearby buildings. "Please, come and rest after your long journey." The building she pointed to had walls that looked like mother of pearl, shimmering with gentle colors. Inside, they found rooms that had been designed to make them feel at home. There were pools of clean water where they could swim if they missed the ocean. The walls could show images of Neobuzen, and the lights could change to match the soft blue glow they were used to. Harin noticed that everything in the Cloud City was made to be peaceful and comfortable. The floors adjusted to each step, making walking feel like floating. The air stayed at the perfect temperature, and soft music seemed to come from the walls themselves, though she couldn't see any speakers. That evening, they gathered in a special room for a welcome meal. The Cloud people had prepared food that combined things from both their worlds. There were fruits that floated above the plates and dishes that looked like small whirlpools of flavor. Everything tasted wonderful and made them feel happy and relaxed. As they ate, Sunin and Maijung told them more about life in the Cloud City. They explained how their buildings could change shape when needed, and how they used light not just for sending messages, but for growing food and creating energy. The Cloud people had found ways to live in harmony with the sky, just as the people of Neobuzen lived in harmony with the sea. That night, as Harin looked out the window of her new room, she could see both worlds. Above her were the beautiful spires of the Cloud City, glowing softly in the starlight. Far below, through gaps in the clouds, she could see the ocean reflecting the city's lights, making it look like there were stars below as well as above. After a peaceful night's rest, Horin and her friends began learning more about the Cloud City. Su-min took them to the city's main learning center, a building with walls made of shifting clouds and floors that felt like walking on soft morning mist. In the learning center, they discovered that the Cloud people had their own special technologies. They could shape the clouds into any form they needed, creating buildings, bridges, and gardens that floated in the air. They used the power of sunlight and wind to make energy, and their machines worked in harmony with the sky. Yuna was especially interested in how the Cloud people shared their thoughts through dreams. In a quiet room filled with gentle lights, Su-min showed them the dream-sharing technology. Small crystals that looked like drops of frozen light could help people connect their minds while they slept. Our dreams help us understand each other better, Su-min explained. When we share dreams, we share feelings and ideas that are hard to explain with words. The visitors from Neo-Busan found this fascinating, as they had never thought of dreams as a way to communicate. Taiwan spent time with the Cloud City's engineers, learning about their flying machines. These vehicles were different from the dream bubble. They were lighter and could change shape like clouds, becoming bigger or smaller as needed. The engineers were very interested in Taiwan's underwater technology, especially how the dream bubble could work in both water and air. Herin visited the cloud gardens, where plants grew without soil, their roots wrapped in tiny clouds that gave them water and food. The gardeners showed her how they used different colors of light to help the plants grow. Some plants produced fruits that glowed in the dark, while others made flowers that changed color with the weather. In return, the visitors shared their own knowledge. Herin told them about Neo-Busan's bioluminescent plants and how they lit the underwater city. Yunat explained how they communicated with sea creatures, and Taiwan showed them how their water tube transportation system worked. The Cloud people were amazed by the underwater technologies. They had never thought about using water pressure to move through their city, or about growing plants that made their own light. Meijung suggested that perhaps they could combine their ideas to make new and better ways of living. One afternoon, they all gathered in a special room called the Sky Theater. The walls and ceiling of this room could show images from anywhere in the world. The Cloud people had recorded views from their city, while Horin and her friends shared recordings from Neo-Busan. Together, they watched the beauty of both worlds, the deep sea and the high sky. Our worlds are so different, Meijung said, but our people are very much alike. We all want to live peacefully and learn from each other. Everyone agreed with these wise words. They could see that despite living in such different places, they shared many of the same hopes and dreams. That evening, they had another shared dream, but this time it was different. Both the Cloud people and the visitors from Neo-Busan joined their minds together. In the dream, they saw a future where their two cities worked together, sharing knowledge and helping each other grow stronger. As they woke from the shared dream, Herin felt happy and hopeful. She knew that this was just the beginning of a wonderful friendship between the people of the sea and the people of the sky. There was still so much they could learn from each other, and so many new things they could discover together. After spending several peaceful days in the Cloud City, Horin and her friends knew it was time to think about the future. They met with Su-min and Meijung in the city's planning center, a beautiful room where the walls showed moving images of both the sky and sea. We should create a way for our people to visit each other easily, Herin suggested. Everyone agreed this was an excellent idea. Taiwan already had some thoughts about how they could make it happen. He walked to the room's main display and began drawing his plans in the air with light. His idea was to build special stations that would float between the Cloud City and Neo-Busan. These stations would look like giant pearls hanging in the sky, connected by beams of light and streams of water. People could travel between them using smaller versions of the dream bubble. The Cloud City's engineers loved this plan. They suggested adding their own technology to make the journey even better. They could use their dream-sharing crystals to help travelers feel calm and happy during their trips. The stations would also have gardens with plants from both worlds. Mai Jung brought out a special map that showed all the air currents and water flows between their cities. Together, they found the perfect places to build the stations. They would put 3 stations at different heights, one near the ocean's surface, one halfway up in the clouds, and one just below the cloud city. Yu now worked with the cloud people to create a new language that combined their ways of talking. They mixed the light signals from above with the water patterns from below. This new language would help everyone understand each other better, no matter which city they came from. The first station took 1 month to build. Herin watched in amazement as cloud builders and underwater architects worked together. The station was beautiful, with walls that could change from clear like water to soft like clouds. Inside, there were comfortable rooms where travelers could rest and enjoy views of both worlds. When the first station was ready, Herin sent an excited message to Dr. Jiho in Neobusan. The next day, he made the journey up to see their work. His eyes filled with happy tears when he saw how their 2 worlds had come together. "This is better than anything we could have dreamed," he said, hugging Herin. More people began to travel between the cities. Cloud children came down to see the colorful fish and glowing plants of Neobusan. People from the underwater city went up to float in the cloud gardens and share dreams with their new friends. Everyone who made the journey returned home with wonderful stories to tell. The stations became known as the Rainbow Bridges because of the beautiful lights that connected them. At night, these lights danced between the sea and sky, reminding everyone of how the cloud people had first tried to talk to Neobusan. The lights were now a sign of friendship between the 2 worlds. Herin's life changed in wonderful ways. She split her time between both cities, teaching people about the ocean in the cloud city and sharing sky knowledge in Neobusan. Every evening, she would stop at one of the stations to watch the sunset, which looked beautiful from between the sea and sky. One peaceful evening, as Herin sat in the highest station looking down at the ocean and up at the cloud city, she thought about how it all began. One small discovery of mysterious lights had led to such amazing changes. She smiled, knowing that there would always be new things to learn and discover in both worlds. The cloud people and the people of Neobusan had created something special together. They had shown that friendship and understanding could bridge any distance, whether through deep waters or high skies. As the stars began to appear above and the bioluminescent lights glowed below, Herin knew that this was just the beginning of their shared story.